What's she gonna do?
Where's the change?
Oh, well,
Well-
maybe nobody thinks there is any. I
Right.
think that this
Okay.
family dynamic is, now, you
Are
know, like the piece that Steve just read, these girls are remote and thin. That's just
They're thin.
totally superficial from the outside. On and on, the author says, we don't know what they're all about. We don't know what's going on in their heads. They're a battery to being charged. Well, now we know who they are, and the mother knows who they are. And to some extent, if, in terms of Jim's comment, that's what's, you know, about somebody, whatever you like, suffragettes, but whether bringing light into this family, maybe there will be some warmth here. Even if these guys, even if they're tight with money and all that business, maybe there will be some focus on the children, some awareness. Wait a minute, we don't want it to go that far. We don't want to be reduced that much to be without kids.
There's another tension thread on 1389, where she's saying to herself, when Godwin hears that I've told Nella, he said, you know, well, what if your friend is inquisitive? And then she says, my own children are strangers. They don't like being downstairs.
That's right.
What was it the prosecution said about influence? And that was the thought that brought her to the schoolroom, that the children are going to love Miss Rice. She has influence.
More than me, yeah.
And so that propels her to do something.
Right.
But I think that also embodies, for me, that Miss Rice is not going to leave. Because I don't think that Miss Godwin has the power to overcome her husband.
We hope. As you were saying that, it's a really interesting point that you're making. She feels in competition, as what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Forget murdering, she just
No,
feels
no,
in competition.
Well, her husband's
Which is-
sleeping with her.
But wait.
Well, it's Steve.
But you just made an
Yeah,
argument
you
against
did.
that.
No, but I think any parent, when there's a caretaker, whether it's a governess
there's
or a
always
nanny,
that
there's always that feeling if the child would like the caretaker more when the mother's working full-time. I think that's a natural response. I also felt for the children that they were so knowing as children how negative their parents were and how they was perceived in the community. I mean, they had this knowledge that kids wouldn't usually have because you see the world through your own
You mean like
family.
precocious? You mean in a sense?
Yeah, but also but taking in all this information, so they couldn't possibly look at their mother and father in a very
Warm and loving way.
objective way, because they already had all this negative information about them.
It was
And
amazing.
what the woman from town told them about how much their father was
Right.
disrespected, and
The doctor's sister.
Right.
that only confirmed what they already intuited by living in this cold, miserable house where there was no mommy and daddy.
At the beginning, it starts by saying he was the most unpopular man in this part of the country. That's quite a reputation. But, you know, it's obviously English, and I think social structure is extremely important. And I think that the big change is that Mrs. Carberry has been reduced. Everybody has a social standing somewhere, and she's been taken down.
Oh, I actually didn't feel that way. I felt, if anything, she's the only one, if there was change, that there was some change happening in her, that she wanted to speak up for herself as a mother and get more involved. Before, she was like oblivious and followed whatever he said.
But she failed. She
No, the
tried.
children
She
failed.
said there's
No,
mutiny in the
I
air.
don't know that she failed.
Well,
I
Just
think
because
her
the
children
kids say they're
said
gonna
it.
go too, that doesn't mean that she failed.
And also
I
just
do.
the fact that she asserted herself, whether she succeeds or not, that's a change
Okay.
for her.
That's-
I
I
think
think something good already happened because of her presence, and these children can't go back
Yeah.
to the way
Right,
of thinking.
right.
They have read Jane Austen, they have colors, they know about shadow, they know
That's what the
everything.
last paragraph, it points out all the
Exactly,
things that the
exactly.
nanny has brought to their
And-
life, and then they look at each other and say, we're going to.
And they're gonna go forward no matter what, even if they fire her and they have somebody else or that, but they know enough now. They're not gonna go back. The children are gonna be okay. I don't think they're gonna be
And,
shriveled.
and I think.
They're gonna be
that-
what?
Shriveled.
Shriveled.
Yeah, I don't
And
think
So
the
they're
nanny-
not gonna be reduced, no matter what happens to
That's my
And
view.
the nanny in.
I agree.
And you agree?
The
No.
governess during this inquisition doesn't say anything. She just stands there
No.
quietly and smiles. She is patient, and she's not drawn into hysteria and tears and I didn't do it, self-defense. She's very certain of herself.
You can imagine how wonderful she must feel about these children, because this story's gonna get back to her too, again, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
That the kids said, if you leave, we're going with
Yeah.
you. I mean, just in terms of anybody's self-esteem who loves children, I mean,
The alliance is clear,
yeah.
the children to the nanny.
But she has no power. I mean, in reality,
No.
this is England back in the day, and she's got no power. She's just a governess. They own the children, and they own the children. They'll do whatever they want with the children in the
Well,
end.
he owns the children because she's
He owns,
also.
he owns her. He owns her, and he owns the children.
He owns the
Exactly.
chip.
He owns her. Well, this is England
This
then.
is
I mean,
England.
he owns her.
So what do you think he's gonna do, Steve? What do you think's gonna happen in the next
Oh, I
year?
think she's reduced. I think she's.
The wife.
Wife. I think he's gonna tell his wife, look, dearie, just back off.
And keep her.
Thank
And
you.
I just thought reduced, couldn't reduced possibly be the husband in a sense of he's not gonna hold as strong a position as he had because the wife is waking up slightly?
Yes, I'm with you
No, I didn't think so. I thought they were all reduced except for Miss Rice, who
But-
was, contrary to what you might think, knowing what happened to her in that scene, she was not reduced
Well-
by her exposure or by the discussion about her. She just quietly went to her room and,
But the mother is able to think independently at the end, and you don't have evidence anywhere before that, but she can.
I don't think it's independent at all. I think she's just relying on social pressure.
Yeah.
She
And when the
is,
gossip
but-
says, I wouldn't leave my kids, she's just, one more, just relying on social
Unless-
pressure.
unless-
Without independence.
Unless you think that she is gonna respond to the kids strong, which she never knew about. To the
Well,
kids strong
She's
endorsement.
pathetic. She says here, do you want to talk, no, I want to talk to Miss Rice, said Mima, her voice unnatural. Do you, mother, said Penny. You don't generally.
right.
The wicker chair Mima sat in creaked convulsively.
Yes.
When you're alone, you may learn to make mother happy. You may understand mother then and not be unkind to her. This is pathetic.
Well, Steve-
Tomorrow Miss Rice will be going away.
Yeah, go ahead, you
They
say it, because I was
screw
gonna,
you.
okay, I was gonna say the
That
same
could mean, you may
thing.
understand mother then and not be unkind to her, but she's saying, I think, that the children may understand why she had to make
Yeah,
this
yeah.
decision.